guys, how are we doing? My name is Bethany and I'm back with another video. The plan for today was to sit down with a little coffee and have a little camp chat. However, I finished the coffee, so we're just gonna do the camp chats instead. And I've just came up with a name now. We could do like coffee and camp chats, camp and coffee, chit chat, camp, coffee and chit chat about camp. We'll work on the name. Anyways, I think I've basically explained what today's video is going to be, but I thought we'd sit down. I'm now back from camp. I have been back a month today. How? So I thought I'd just sit down and have an honest chat with you guys. I know when I was applying for the first time, I was watching all these videos that I could because you see a lot of positives, but you also see a lot of negatives. I just wanted to give my honest opinion on how my camp was. Now, obviously, with it being my second year, it's obvious that I enjoyed it my first year and I'm back. However, I am going to be brutally honest about how I found camp. This year, obviously, I'm going to mix in like last year as well a little bit, just to give you guys a general oversight about my camp experience so far. So I have got a list of things of what I'm going to be talking about in today's video. Obviously, if you guys have any further questions, feel free to leave a little comment below. I'm sure I'll make a part 2 because there is so much to know about camp and it's hard to fit it all into one video. So I just want to start off by saying that both years I've been to the exact same camp. For anyone wondering, it is Camp Somerset for Girls in Maine and I absolutely love it there. Hence I've been there twice. But yeah, obviously I've been to the same camp twice. So this is just my experience with that camp. Not to say that your experience with another camp will be the exact same, but it's just to kind of give you an idea about the camp experience. I'm gonna go ahead and get started because the chit chat at the start of my videos is my downfall and I'm so aware. So let's just get on with the video. I was gonna say we're gonna start off with a big one, but I feel like they're all pretty big ones that I've picked today that people want to know. We're gonna start off with making friends at camp. Is it an easy thing? Is it not so easy? I don't know. I'm just gonna tell you my experience. My thinking when I was going to camp the first time was everyone that's going to camp must have a similar-ish personality to me. You've got to have somewhat of a bubbly personality if you want to go to camp. You've got to like working with kids. It should be easy enough to make friends. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's going, a lot of people go by themselves, so everyone's going to be in the mindset to make friends. And while that is true, I'm not gonna lie, in my first year, I did struggle a little bit at the start to make friends. Now, I don't want to say this to put anyone off. If you didn't know this, well, in my camp anyway, all your lifeguards, your adventure staff, all the people that require a lot of extra training go a lot earlier than you to camp. When I say a lot earlier, a few weeks, but those few weeks can kind of make a difference. So those people will go early, and of course they go early because they need a lot of extra training and they require a lot more before actual orientation starts. With this, it meant that a lot of people had actually already made friends. Now, I got there on the very last date, like the very day before orientation starts, on the very last group at night time. Like I got there at pitch black, got taken up in a golf cart to my cabin and went to sleep. Like I did not speak to anybody really. Like I said hi to people in my cabin and literally went to sleep. And I was like, what am I doing? Honestly, looking back, I definitely hindered myself making friends a little bit earlier than I could have because I was thinking that just people were going to come to me. And don't get me wrong, sometimes that does happen. You'll meet someone on the first day, become best friends with them, you'll end up traveling with them, and that will be like your best friend. And of course that happens, but that's not everyone's experience, and it definitely wasn't mine. I didn't really put myself out there. I thought other people would just come to me and that like that would kind of be it, which wasn't the case. I was so intimidated by the returners because I was like, oh my goodness, they're like royalty. Like I can't speak to them. Like I don't want to bother them. When actually they were so lovely. Of course, they had friends from the previous year that they were going to speak to. That's what anybody is going to do in that situation. Gravitate towards what you know, okay? So I'm absolutely not blaming them at all. But I didn't put myself out there like I should have. Even with the people when it was their first year, I seen that someone was talking to someone and went, oh my goodness, I can't go and join in that conversation. Even though they maybe just met that day. Do you know what I mean? They weren't having this deep secret conversation that I couldn't be a part of. What I would say if you're going to camp for the first time, put yourself out there, okay? Speak to the new people, speak to the returners, be willing and open to speak to anyone. You have no clue who you're going to click with until you've spoken to loads of people and see kind of who you fit with. Another thing I would say is that before going to camp, I actually didn't speak to a lot of people. Now, there's so many Facebook groups, WhatsApp groups, Snapchat groups, everything groups for summer camp. So I definitely would recommend finding people going to your camp before you actually go and speaking to them, because it does no harm when you get there to be like, oh, by the way, like, hi, I'm Bethany, like I spoke to you before, and you've already kind of got those connections. I feel like that would have helped me a lot, kind of feel a little bit more at ease for going there. I hope I'm not putting anyone off about making friends, because I know it's probably a thing that people are most nervous about when going to camp, But if you keep everything in mind that I've said about maybe reaching out to people before you get to camp, speaking to the returners and the new people and putting yourself out there, then you'll have no bother at all. I absolutely loved camp this year, and the reason was because I felt like I had more friends this year. I had a really good experience. It's the same as the campers as to us. Having at least one friend at camp really will make or break your camp experience. So I would say definitely put yourself out there and try and make those connections. I'm not saying that everyone has to be your best friend, but it's just nice to know that you can speak to people, whether it's a, oh hi, where are you off to? Do you know what I mean? Just small passing chat. It's just nice to know that you can speak to people. It'll definitely make your summer a lot better. I feel like I've spoken about this for so long now, so we're gonna move on. Next up, we have pay, okay? Brace yourselves, because so many people are like, why are you doing that? You're literally working from nothing. It's a big scam. Why are you doing summer camp? I'm here to debunk it. I'm here to debunk it. So I actually did make a breakdown video about this over my TikTok, so feel free to go and have a look at that if you want to see the breakdowns of absolutely everything at camp. But I'm gonna kind of give a general oversight. So camps can pay different amounts, and that can vary if you're a day camp, an overnight camp, if you're an additional needs camp, depending on where you're based, if you're upstate New York, location, all things like this are varying factors to what your camp will pay. What's important about your pay is, first of all, what agency you apply to go through. So obviously a lot of people go with Camp America, because if you search up what you think the experience of Camp America is, that's the agency that come up. But basically, Camp America is just the name of an agency. It's not the actual program, if that makes sense. People have just made this agency name, Camp America, as a thing to do. People say, oh, you're doing Camp America. But if you're not actually going through Camp America, then you're actually just going to camp in America, if that makes sense. So personally, I went with an agency called Wildpack, had an absolutely amazing experience with them. We'll be going back with them again this year. Now, what's really good about them is that they offer a minimum base salary of $2,000. Now, there are quite a lot of agencies that all offer the kind of minimum of $2,000. What I would say about Wildpack is, because it is that smaller agency, you really are getting that one-on-one communication with them and that attention. You really feel like you are heard as a person and not just as a number to their agency, if that kind of makes sense. You don't feel like you're another number adding to them getting paid. It really feels like they care about you and want to make you have the best experience, or are going to make sure you're at a camp that fits you the best. It's more personalised, is I think what I'm trying to say. I also believe Wildpacks are going to be upping their minimum salary as well, so keep an eye out for that. My first year I got the $2,000 from my camp. Now, of course, there is a little bit of wiggle room for negotiation. I'm sure you could email the camps, and if you've got certain factors that are going to cost you a lot more, you personally can negotiate with the camps. It's not something the agency's going to do, but you can, once you're in contact with a camp and if they've offered you an offer and a contract, you can then negotiate with them if you feel that that's necessary. Obviously the camp can decline or whatever, that's completely up to them on what they're going to do, but the minimum, I got paid the minimum my first year of $2,000. I'm going to be completely transparent. Going back this year, I definitely got more. You get more for being a returner anyways at most camps, I believe. So this year my base pay was $2,700. I then got a $75 extra, like it was like a for being there a bit earlier than orientation started, and then I also got a travel stipend. I always say that wrong. I believe it was $600. So I think my salary was about $3,375. However, obviously tax, and I did have stuff like staff shirts, staff t-shirts and stuff like that that came off of that as well. And I didn't get paid all on a winner this year. I got paid bi-weekly, so I'm actually not sure what I took home, but that's roughly what I got paid this year. Just so you know roughly what to expect if you are thinking about going back the following year. What I will say about camp is, no, you're not doing it for the money, but the more you go back, the more the money does actually benefit you. Obviously your salary will be going up, and if you go back multiple years, you'll probably maybe move up higher if that's something that you're interested to and that's something that camp want you to do, which obviously there's more money in a higher up position as well. So although you're not going for the money, the more you go, you definitely are compensated more for being there. I feel like pay was a quick one because there's not too much to say on it, to be honest with you. It kind of does vary on the camp and the agency that you're using, but yeah, definitely look into Wildpacks. They are a really good agency to go with, and I would personally recommend them. I always find it really awkward watching people say that they have discount codes, because I'm always like, oh, I know you're gonna get money for that as well, but like, I know I like a discount code because I personally like to save money, but it's up to you. You do not need to use it, but I do have a discount code if you do want some money off Wildpacks. It's Bethany10 to get yourself 10% off their fees. I'm not making you use it, but I'm just saying it will save you a little bit of money. And when you're going to camp and you're paying for lots of different things, every penny helps to save. Okay, next we're going to talk about time off. I keep saying it's another big one, but it's because it is another big one. Again, will vary if you're a day camp and overnight camp. I know my friend was in New York and hers was a day camp, so she would have the kids during the day, she'd have her evenings off, and she'd have her weekends off. For some people, that's what they want. They want to have the camp experience, but they also want to have an equal amount of time off as well, which is totally fair. When I was looking into camps, I really wanted to do an overnight camp just to get that full camp experience, but obviously it's kind of whatever you're looking for. So at my camp, for me, it would look like throughout the day you would have activities. I would usually get 2 of those activities off a day. For my department, it really varied because how it worked is that 2 people would direct one play. So we did 4 plays throughout the summer. 2 people at a time would direct a play, and then the rest of us would just kind of like be there to like help with whatever those other people needed. So if it was the play that I was directing, I was definitely on a lot more, which you want to be because you want to be involved. Your name is put beside that play. You want to be there to make sure it's the best it can be. But when I was more kind of assistant and I was just kind of like helping where needed, I definitely did end up having a little bit more time off. It was honestly very, I know the people down by the water, they definitely got a lot less time off during the day, but they would get more time off in the evenings. Personally, I liked being on in the evenings because that was like the evening activity and stuff like that. But obviously if you've been on all day, then these people kind of did take evening activity off if it was their only off for the day. But time off does kind of vary depending on the day as well. Like if it's trip day, like you're going to be on obviously more consecutively, a lot longer. But my camp anyways, they were really accommodating. They were like, if you were on all day and there was like an evening activity that you were on for, but you were also on overnight, they'd be like, just miss the evening activity, just focus on being on at night. Being on duty at night, so obviously as I said, I was at an overnight camp, and how it worked is that one person would be on duty every single night. What that meant was that everyone else in the cabin was expected to be there until, it wasn't necessarily a set time, it was kind of what you as a cabin decided. We never really set a set time. It was more kind of like when the cabin's a little bit more settled. I was with the older girls, so it's not like they needed help like going for a shower and getting ready for bed and things like that, but they didn't need as much one-on-one attention. So for example, when I was on duty, I was kind of happy when everything was kind of settled to be like, on you guys go to the staff lounge. Actual days off, we got I believe 5 in the summer. So we got 1 during orientation, and then we got 4 throughout the summer because we didn't get one the first week of camp or the last week of camp, just so everyone was there to kind of start and finish camp. My camp, what it would look like, if you were day off, say Tuesday, the Monday night you would have that off, you wouldn't be on duty. You would then have the whole of that next day off, and then you obviously wouldn't be on duty that night either, and then you'd be back to work on the Wednesday. So let's move on to technology. Can you have your phone at camp? Now, at my camp, personally, no. It was a tech-free camp. What that meant was the kids had no tech, so you had no tech. Personally, I thought that was great. I feel like we spend so much time on our phones, and there's so much stuff at camp that if you were on your phone all the time, you would miss it. A lot of people bring digital cameras if you're worried about like missing pictures and stuff like that. But day to day, not being on your phone is actually really nice. A lot of people are like, oh, I want to like speak to people at home and stuff like that. You have periods off in the day where you can do that. Like there definitely is time for you to be able to do that. But it's nice not to have a phone attached to you 24/7 and feel like you need to check it all the time. So at my camp, how your technology worked is that you would all have a locker in the staff lounge. You're expected to keep that in your locker all the time, and then you can go on it on your off periods. Main exception was on trip day. So if you were scheduled to be on for trip day, then you were allowed to bring your phone. Now the expectations of that is that you weren't to go on it the whole time, the whole bus journey, and ignore the kids. You weren't to be on it when you were at the activity. It was more in case of emergency. Now of course people listened to music on the bus and they would send a little message here and there, but it's also nice and respectful, I think, not to be on your phone around the kids, because if they're not allowed it, then I think it's not really fair to you to flaunt it in front of them. But yeah, that's how the phones kind of worked. Your phones were not meant to be in the cabin. I personally would bring my phone into the cabin if I was on a period off, and that meant the kids were not allowed in the cabin, because I like to call home from the cabin where it wasn't so busy in front of like everyone, and I would just, there was like one spot in the bathroom where I could stand and get a little bit of service. That's the other thing about camp. There's barely any service. There's barely any Wi-Fi. So like, even if you have your phone, you can't use it. Like, if I had my phone in my cabin, like, I can't get Wi-Fi. Like, I can't go on it in my cabin anyway, so there's no point of having it. That's the only time I would have it in my cabin, if I was on a period off and wanted to call home, just because I did get some Wi-Fi in this one spot in the bathroom and was able to call from there. Okay, the angle might have changed. We had a little dead camera moment, but it's okay. It's a perfect time to move on to our next topic. Now, a lot of people ask, how is it living with kids all the time? How is it being woken up in the middle of the night? How overwhelming is it to be in a cabin with teenagers for weeks at a time? I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to be honest. I do think this comes down to what age you have, and I can go into more about that in another video about kind of selecting the age that's right for you. Do you get to choose? Yada, yada, yada. What I would say about living with the kids is that there are so many factors that come into it. One, what age of kids do you have? For me, that was, I had like the 12, 13-year-olds. I had them both years. Not the same group of kids actually, because like all my co-counselors came back, which is kind of like unheard of, and only one of us could move up, so we decided who that was going to be, and unfortunately it wasn't me. It meant I got a new group of kids and I absolutely loved them as well. That's one factor, is what age you have. And what I mean by that is, like, the younger kids are a little bit more needy. They are probably going to be the ones who get a little bit more homesick, are probably going to need a little bit more attention. But the pros is that obviously they go to bed a little bit earlier. Second one is your co-counselors. If you have a great base of co-counselors to rely on, then you're going to have a really nice summer. Now, both years I was really, really lucky. I had really lovely co-counselors. I really got on with them. They were amazing. They were really, really good. We were really good at swapping with each other if we wanted certain days or nights off. Like, it really makes a difference to have co-counselors you could rely on. So I absolutely love the people that I had. So if you're watching, love you guys. For me, living with the kids was never an issue. I absolutely love it. I love being in a bunk with the kids. I think it really does add to the camp experience, as opposed to like sending them away at the end of the day. Like, I just loved it when we would have bunk time and bunk night. And again, I was really lucky with my kids. I had a really, really great group of kids both years, which is obviously another factor. But yeah, I personally don't have a bad word to say about it. Obviously, it limits your privacy. I think you just need to be smart about your free time and about using that to really recharge your batteries. I'm really sweating, it's really hot in here. I would also say utilising your free time goes hand in hand with if you're feeling overwhelmed. A lot of people, especially if it's your first year at camp, are probably going to feel like, oh my goodness, what are they doing? Why are they screaming at each other? Why are they not listening to me? Like, get that sense of like, oh my god, I literally don't know what to do. Why am I here? Why did I sign up for camp? I think you've got to use the time when you're off to really ground yourself, remind yourself why you're here, why you love it. Go and see the nice nature that camp has to offer. Really remind yourself of the positives, so that when these things do happen, you're in a good headspace to be able to deal with it. What I will say is, if it gets to the point where you're like, I literally can't deal with this, I cannot deal with these kids, why are they not listening? That's why it's really important to make a good relationship with your co-counselors, because then you can be like, look, I need to tap out, can you please handle this? Letting your co-counselors know where you're at. Do you know what I mean? Like, look, hey, today I can only give 25%. I'm so sorry. Like, can you make up the slack for me? Like, I'm really sorry. I'll try and give more tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? Or if you can tell that a co-counselor is a little bit like, oh, like they might need a little bit of space, be like, hey, look, I got this from here. Like, if you want to take 5 minutes to go and chill, like, on you go. I got this. I got the energy. Do you know what I mean? It's really important to have that. But also, don't take advantage of it. Don't be saying all the time, I don't have the energy, I don't have the energy, I don't have it. Because then the co-counselor who's then constantly giving the energy at some point is going to burn out. When they do burn out, it's going to be really unfair on the kids if no one's got anything to give to them. And the final thing, short and sweet, that I'm going to be answering about summer camp is, did you enjoy it? Should we do a little drum roll? Yes, of course I did. Of course I enjoyed camp. I went back for my second year. I'm going to be going back for my third year. I love camp, and this is why I want to make these videos, because I know people post the negatives about camp, and they post that you're overworked and you're underpaid and you're all these things. But if you find the right camp fit for you, you're not going to feel that. You're not going to feel like you're working all the time. You're going to feel like you're there having an amazing experience, and the pay is a bonus. Okay. I think it's so important to share the honest truth about camp, and that no, not every day it's going to be amazing. But at the end of the day, it's a job. Okay. I think a lot of people forget that about camp, and then they get there and they're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe they're asking me to do this and that and work. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's a job. Obviously, know your limits. If something at your camp seems really off and you're like, this definitely isn't right, I shouldn't be treated like that, then of course you should speak up. If you find the right camp for you, then you will have an amazing summer. Like, I can't even put it into words. Like, I love camp so much. I love being there. I miss it the minute I come home. Sorry if you've not had that experience at camp. If you're interested about looking at a new camp, then definitely sign up for summer 2025 and do a little bit of research into other camps and find a camp that you think will be a better fit for you, because trust me, there will be one out there for you. Okay, we're gonna wrap this video up here because I'm actually not sure if I answered the questions. Like, I wrote them down, but did I answer them? I'm actually not sure. I think I chat too much and I'm not sure if I just kind of hover around the answers. If you have any more questions about summer camp or about any of the answers I gave, if they didn't make sense, then please comment them down below and I'll be sure to get back to you or make another video about it. This is definitely, it's a series, this is official. Episode 1 of the new series. We're gonna come up with a better name, something about coffee and camp chat, something about that, okay? This has been the first in the series. Hope to see you guys back for the second one. If you're going to be applying for summer 2025, or you've already been to camp, or you just want to know a little bit more about other camps, or you just like watching camp content, because that's me. I just love it. I just love the camp vibe. I love the camp bubble. I just want to be involved in anything happening about camp. So yeah, if you're just here because you just want to hear more about camp, then feel free to join. That's it for this video. Hope to see you guys in the next one and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.